everyone, Will from Project BRZ here. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the extended features of the XAV-712BT Sony head unit. I showed you the other day the mirror link feature using the Talk Pro app, and there's been a lot of interest in that. So I thought I'd take you through the rest of the head unit and some of the features that it has, well, all of the features that it has, plus take you through the sound quality and those sorts of things as well. So hopefully you find this video interesting. So the first thing we'll start off is just show you the menu system. Now obviously it's touch screen, so you can scroll through like that or go into a two-dimensional menu as well that gives you easy access to all the different menu options. So that's the 3D mode there. Now the first thing I'll show you, we'll start at the back and go into navigation. Now this unit has integrated navigation using the TomTom software. Now it's one of the key benefits of that over the top of say Google Maps, for instance, on your phone, is that it's all offline. So you're not using any data at all on your phone or anything else when you're using this system. So that's really good. Going into the various features of it, tap the screen, and obviously driving to, you can change the route, you can view the map of where you are currently, move it around, zoom in, zoom out, all the usual things that you'd expect. I won't go into that in super fine detail for you because you get the idea. You'll also notice one of the cool things that I've been able to do on the main view. Let me go back to here. Is I've changed the icon there. Whoops. I've changed the icon of the car there, so it's actually a picture of this actual car. I did that by going into the folder on the SD card of the TomTom software and adjusting it there. So yeah, little cool things like that you can do if you know what you're doing with computers, just to personalize it a little bit. But going through the menu, we've got settings here as well. You can set a home location, you can change the voices, you can change the distance units, you can change the map colors, you can change the views. Driving safety is an interesting one. It gives you audible warning for school zones and speed zones as well. Now at the moment the maps for Australia don't support those features, but I've been told that there'll be a new map update coming out shortly which is going to fix that. But for the most part the maps work fantastically well. So that's maps. We'll just go into drive to quickly as well. So you can quickly go to home, to a recent destination, to a point of interest like a petrol station or a car park or anything like that, a specific address, a favorite address, and then we can scroll across a certain point on the map and to a contact's address as well if you've got that in there. So we can jump back out of maps, I think. The next one is, we'll have a look at Bluetooth audio, which is pretty obvious. That allows you to link up to a Bluetooth source for audio, such as your phone. Works with Spotify, Music Unlimited, any of those kinds of things, or just music that's stored on your phone. So that's really convenient because it means you can listen to music from whatever source you want. Obviously it's got an auxiliary input as well, which works for video as well as audio. So you can you got two inputs on the back. And yeah, just depending on how you've got it configured when you plug it all in, depends on how it works there. Go back out of that. iPod does exactly what it says. I don't actually have an iPod, so I can't really show you that. But if I did have an iPod, you press on that and it just gives you a nice menu system of the iPod interface, allowing you to go through and choose tracks and playlists and all those kinds of things. Nice and simple. USB music. You can plug in a USB stick into the head unit itself via one of the USB cables. There's two USB cables, and that allows you to just play music through a directory system on the unit again, that's stored on the USB stick. Same deal with USB video as well. You can play movies or whatever you've got stored on the stick. The codec support is actually pretty wide for that as well. So it plays, I'm not sure if it plays MKV files, but it plays MPEGs, AVI files, all those kinds of standard file formats. So it's really come a long way in recent times with compatibility. It's got USB photo as well, so you can look at photos that are stored on a USB stick. HDMI MHL input, which is really handy. So what that means, I'll jump into my glove box quickly and plug in my MHL cable. So the MHL just plugs into the USB port on your phone, and then when we go to MHL input, there we go. So now the screen of the phone is now being displayed on the screen of the head unit there. Nice and easy. And so you can use it to view whatever content you want, so movies, whatever. Now the one catch of this is that obviously the screen doesn't work as a touch screen for it, because that's not the way MHL works. You can also use the HDMI input to connect to a PlayStation or anything like that if you wanted to as well. So on the subject of connecting your phone, one of the other cool features that I did touch on the other day in my other video was MirrorLink. Now I'll quickly plug my phone back into the car via USB, and so MirrorLink immediately looks exactly the same as the MHL input did, but the difference here is that the touchscreen is actually operating the phone. So it's kind of like having an Android head unit in the car, except you don't have to install all your apps again separately. You don't have problems with having to have a second SIM card in it or connected to a Wi-Fi to have internet access. Everything that works on your phone just works straight from your head unit. So I can access my email, Facebook, whatever I want straight from here. It works with music players, which is really handy. So we go into Spotify. We can listen to whatever music we want from here, which is cool. Now, one thing that I will mention is that it's not great in terms of frame rate. So things like games and that kind of thing don't work particularly well. I'll just show you a game quickly now. You can see the frame rate's not particularly good here. So yeah, you wouldn't use it to play a game or watch videos, but to do things like navigation from your phone, it's really, really good. Now, if you were to buy the XAV-712 head unit without the navigation package, you could use maps on your phone. So we'll just quickly go into that and I'll show you as well. So there you go, Google Maps running on the head unit, and all of the features like OK Google and everything work as well. So you can search nice and easy. Okay. Now the other cool feature that I touched on the other day, but in case you haven't seen that video, is the link to the OBD port on your car. Now, what I didn't mention in the other video is you do need an adapter plugged into the OBD2 port on the car to use that feature. I've got an OBD Link MX in my car, and it's just a little dongle that you plug into the OBD2 port, and that allows your phone to connect to the car and read all the diagnostic settings and everything like that. And then you use MirrorLink to mirror that on the screen of the head unit. What that means is that you can get all of these digital gauges straight from the phone onto your head unit without having to have extra gauges installed all over your car. Now, I haven't got the engine running right now, so I won't actually show any data. But if you want to have a look at that in more detail, check out my other video previously, which I'll link here for you now. And that goes through all the features there and gives you a good explanation of how that all works. So that's pretty much it for MirrorLink, I think. The next feature that I'll show you is App Remote. So we'll tap on App Remote. Now, it doesn't look like much on the head unit there, but what it is really cool for is, as I unplug this phone again, what it gives you, let me just focus the camera here. There we go. What it gives you is a visual representation of all the settings on your head unit from your phone. So what that means is if you got your phone mounted on the dash, you can easily change settings, change inputs, all those kinds of things straight from your phone. So it's really handy if you don't want to be reaching for your head unit and you need to control it. Now, it's not such an amazing feature when you've got a touchscreen head unit already, but if you've got one of the head units that doesn't have a touchscreen, it's actually a really cool feature, and it's on a lot of the Sony entry-level units as well. So so yeah, it's a really handy feature, but it's not something that I really use on this unit because it's a touch screen already. So we can jump back out of that again. Okay, so the next one is the phone feature, which does exactly what you would imagine. Lets you answer and make calls from your head unit. Nice big buttons which are easy to operate, and it also taps into the phone book on your device as well. So I won't show you all of my contacts, but yeah, it gives you a nice list of all the contacts that are on your phone, so you can quickly search, and it gives you a nice search feature as well, which is cool. iPod I can't really show you now because I don't have an iPod in the car, but it gives you the standard kind of iPod graphical interface to navigate through your playlists and albums and tracks. What I'll do is I'll jump back into MirrorLink, and of course there's of course a standard tuner as well, so have a quick look at that. I haven't even set up any presets at this stage, but you can see you got a bunch of presets that you can set. You've got 3 banks of FM presets and 2 banks of AM presets, and you can change the background to be whatever you want as well. So going into settings now, before we get into the music listening, probably don't really need to go through all of the head unit settings here. One thing to mention is that you can use this unit to control rear screens as well. So there's a bunch of settings that you'll find in here to allow you to configure that. It also integrates with steering wheel controls as well if you have those. This car doesn't have them though, so we won't go into that. Under music settings here, you've got your equalization settings. Now I normally have my subwoofer dialed all the way out because I don't have one in this car. There is an adjustment, however, to fine-tune your subwoofer level there. Now what I would suggest is that if you do have a subwoofer, set this to 0, adjust the gain level on your subwoofer amplifier to be roughly how you like it, and then just fine-tune it from here depending on the kind of music that you're listening to. You should never have a situation where you're having to boost it all the way up or all the way down just to make it sound any good, because you'd be doing that fine-tuning from your head unit, sorry, from your amplifier. So there's a bunch of presets for EQ here, pretty standard. And then what you can also do is you can select custom and tune, and you've got a parametric style equalizer here. So you've got a bunch of different frequencies ranging from 63 Hz all the way through to 16 kHz, and you can fine tune your gain levels for each of those frequencies there. So you can see I've got it set flat at the moment, and that's because I don't really listen to music much in this car, but we'll set this back to flat. Now to just quickly touch on some of the other features, you've got balance and fade, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can fade from rear to front, left to right. Listening position, that tells the car where you typically listen from, and what it does is it adjusts the signal digitally to make it sound good for that listening position. I don't use that again because I don't need it really. I find that it makes the music sound a little bit artificial sometimes, so I tend to just leave it off, but that's a personal preference thing. Rear bass enhancer is really cool. It doesn't work on this car because the rear speakers are rubbish, but I had a XAV-712 in my WRX previously, which did have decent rear speakers, so I can tell you that, yeah, it's got 3 different levels of bass enhancement, each of them being like a different level of bass boost, I guess. And what that does is it's basically simulating a subwoofer in the back of your car. It's not as good as a dedicated proper subwoofer, but if you're on a tight budget, it does make a difference. Crossover filter is another important one. What that lets you do is set your crossover levels for your subwoofer, and then crossing over into your standard speakers. So ideally, when setting this up, you would want to have your and you can see here I've got it set up with no cutoff for my high pass. That's because I don't have a subwoofer in this car. But if I did have a subwoofer, I'd probably be setting low pass to probably about 80 Hz. And then depending on what kind of front speakers I had, I would either have a bit of a blend in, or I'd just have a straight crossover. Now the reason I would select 80 Hz is because once you get over about 80 Hz, the sound starts to become directional. What that means is that if you have your subwoofers set to 120 Hz crossover, anything over about 80 Hz is going to sound like it's coming from the boot, and that gives you a really unbalanced sound in your car. So typically I'd suggest leaving that at 80 Hertz, and that gives you a nice punchy bass sound without it sounding like it's coming from any particular position in the car. But for now we'll leave that zeroed out because there's no subwoofer in this car. And from here you can also reverse the phase of your subwoofer as well if you for some reason have your subwoofer wired backwards. So that's about all for here. So let's jump in and have a listen to some music. Now, you'll remember from the previous video, if you've seen it, that I had a set playlist that I always use to audition a sound system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the same playlist with the same tracks again, and just give you my impressions again of how the sound system sounds, using once again the complete stock sound system, but this time with the replacement head unit in it. A lot of people expect that they're going to get way better sound out of a different head unit without changing anything else. So I figured this is a good way to kind of test that theory. So we'll start with Billie Jean. Now, the tracks that I've selected give me a nice dynamic range from high trebles all the way through to low bass. And one of the things that I really listen for when I'm auditioning a sound system is that the walking kind of bass lines from low punch kick drum kind of thing right through to, say, like a jazz kind of bass guitar. Often what you'll have with a cheap sound system is you'll have really solid kick drum kind of bass, but then as soon as you've got a walking bass line on a guitar, as soon as you start to get up in the frequency range, it just drops out. So what I want to listen for is to make sure that I've got a nice linear frequency response in terms of sound pressure level all the way through the frequency range. So we'll jump in and have a listen. So with the flat EQ, it really sounds pretty much exactly the same as it did with the stock head unit tuned with extra bass, if that makes sense. So let me jump out and back into settings. Go to custom EQ, tune it. So turn the volume down a little bit. So listening to this, in that kind of walking bass line, that whoop, boom, 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 you can hear the sound pressure level is the same on all the different frequencies, so that's really good. But it is lacking a little bit, so try to boost the kick drum a bit. Okay. So that's pretty good. It definitely, with that extra tuning capability, it definitely improves the sound. I can tune it to be much more the kind of sound that I'm after. So let's jump on to the next track. This one's got some really nice sweeping bass going on in it, so should be a good example. Okay, so using that EQ from the previous track, the bass is actually starting to distort a little bit in the door speakers, so I'll back that off a little bit. So we'll jump back out to settings, go back into our custom EQ and just back that bass off a little bit. Okay, that's fixed that problem. So you can hear there that the walking bass frequencies there are nice and linear all the way through the frequency range, which is I'm really happy with the way that's come out. So I might skip that next next track and jump straight down to Jam, I think. Okay, so the smashing glass sound, pretty good. Give it a bit more volume. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Sounds good. There's a nice bass sweep here. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Ideally I'd like to have a bit more kick drum in there, but I know that if I increase my bass level any further, it's going to start to distort in the bass guitar lines in other tracks. So what I'm learning here is that it seems that you do have to have different EQs for different styles of music. You're not going to find one EQ that is a really good balance for all kinds of music. I guess that's pretty normal, but ideally what I'd probably want is a small subwoofer under the seat or something like that, just to give it a little bit of extra bass. So I'll jump onto the next track, which is the track that everybody always teases me about, but I really like this track in terms of EQing a sound system because it's got this really deep bass in it that kind of penetrates through the entire track. And what that tests is that the detail in the speakers isn't lost when the bass hits. So let's get that playing. I won't get into the heavy technical details about it now, but we'll just have a listen and see what it sounds like. So it's definitely an improvement over the stock sound system, there's no question about that. Just being able to dial in and dial out the frequencies, the specific frequencies that I need to kill the vibrations in the car makes a big difference. So I guess in summary what I would say is that if you're just after an improvement in sound quality, I would probably not go for such a high-end unit. In terms of the head unit, I'd go for a cheaper head unit and I'd get amplifiers and speakers and do that part of the sound system properly. Having said that though, in my case what I was after was the features that this head unit offers. I wasn't particularly worried about sound quality. I just wanted to have a nice, balanced, low volume kind of listening experience in this car. So, and I feel that I've achieved that with this unit. So while I'd say I'm happy with the sound quality, I wouldn't be going around saying, hey, it's an awesome stereo, because it's not. Like, I mean, the stock speakers are pretty rubbish, but they're adequate for what I want out of the car. So anyway, I hope this video has been pretty helpful for you. Sorry if I've rambled on a bit about audio technical stuff. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to that kind of thing, but hopefully it's given you a good overview of the features this head unit has to offer. And yeah, if you found the video useful, please like the channel and subscribe to the channel. We've had a lot of new subscriptions recently, which is fantastic. I'm going to keep trying to add videos every time I possibly can. I've got a new video coming up pretty shortly when I install my new STI brake kit for the car, so something completely different for the channel. So yeah, like and subscribe if it's been helpful for you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.